It is important for you to understand how the concept of fuel operates. The reason for this is that this is the single most precious resource that you possess that the narcissist wants. Understand that the majority of narcissists, being lesser or mid-range, namely 95% of them, do not know that they need this. It is an unconscious, unquenching need and desire. This is the resource that you possess that all narcissists want from you. Therefore, of course, the stated aim is for you not to provide it. The best way of doing so, you go no contact. But many people want to know, did I provide fuel? How much fuel did I provide? Am I giving a lot of fuel to the narcissist? It's also important to realise that in many interactions where you may think that you're not providing fuel, you actually are. It's also important for you to understand that you may have thought that you were giving huge amounts of fuel when you were not. To understand fuel, you need to realise that any emotional response that you provide that has been provoked, occasioned, motivated, activated by the narcissist is fuel. Accordingly, if the narcissist stands in front of you and you say to the narcissist, I love you, you have provided positive fuel. If the narcissist has called you a horrible name and you cry, your tears are negative fuel. You can read lots more about the concept of fuel and how it operates in my book, Fuel, which is available on Amazon. But understand that there are three constituent parts to fuel: potency, amount, and frequency. Let's deal first of all with potency. You are an appliance that fits into the fuel matrix of the narcissist. From the moment you first engage with a narcissist, whether it is in person, flirting online, from a message, a telephone call, or waving across the street, you have entered our fuel matrix. And you will always remain there. You may not always be called upon for the provision of fuel and character traits and residual benefits, those are the two items being part of the prime aims. However, once you've entered the fuel matrix, you never ever leave until either we die or you die. Even when you are disengaged from, that is a temporary call on you within that fuel matrix. It does not mean you have left it. It does not mean you have been put outside of it. You remain in it, but not used. With regard to your position in that fuel matrix, you will either be a tertiary, secondary, or primary source. Most of you listening will be primary or secondary sources, hence your interest in this subject. It would be quite rare for a tertiary source to be so perturbed by their interaction with the narcissist that they would seek out further information about it, but tertiary sources do exist, and you will probably have been a tertiary source to a narcissist, even though you may not have realised it. You, of course, can fit into different narcissist fuel matrix. So if you've had the misfortune to have been ensnared by a number, for instance, your parent who's a narcissist, you will be a non-intimate secondary source to that individual. If you're married to a narcissist, you'll be the intimate partner primary source. If you have had to buy goods and services from a narcissist, you may well have been a tertiary source to that particular narcissist. Accordingly, you will hold different positions, and your position within that fuel matrix governs your potency. Tertiary sources are the least potent. Secondary sources are of moderate to very high, or rather moderate to high potency, and you can learn more about which secondary sources are moderate and which are high in the book Fuel. And then intimate partner primary sources, for instance, or a former intimate partner primary source, are primary sources. Primary sources provide the greatest potency, the highest potency, ultra-high potent fuel. That is why they are so important, and that is why they are manipulated to the extent that they are. Thus, tertiary sources, low potency; secondary sources, moderate to high; primary sources, ultra-high. So that is the potency. Next, there is the amount. The amount of fuel that you provide is governed by the proximity of your interaction with us. So, if you send something in writing to us, this is the lowest amount of fuel that you can provide. Why is that? Because all that we derive from it are the words that you're using. So, for example, if you send a text message writing "fuck you," then in those circumstances, the negative language that you're utilizing is fuel in itself. We also envisage the tone that is associated with it, so that provides a further strand, but is not a large amount of fuel. If you are in person with us, that is when you provide us with the largest amount of fuel. Why? There are more fuel streams. The words that you're using, the tone associated with them, your body language, the look in your eyes, and your facial expressions. All of that combines to provide us with a massive amount of fuel. And therefore, you can work out that various interactions in between, from leaving a telephone message, speaking on the telephone, Skype, FaceTime, calling from across a road, have varying amounts in terms of fuel, some greater than others. Therefore, you need to consider what position you are in the fuel matrix and what was the nature of your interaction, and therefore you have potency and amount. This then leads us to the final point, frequency. If you send us a one-off text message, then that is a one-off hit of fuel, and because it is in writing, it is a small amount of fuel. So let us say the primary source writes a message saying in a text, "I love you." It's potent, but it is a small amount of fuel because it's written and it's a one-off hit. If, however, the primary source is engaging in having sex with the narcissist, and let's say that lasts for an hour, then that is repeated fuel for 1 hour from a highly potent source in massive amounts. And that is why sex is so important to the narcissist. Yes, the physical sensation is pleasant to us, but it's all about that fuel. An hour or more or less, depending upon the proficiency of the narcissist you're ensnared by, that particular time period of highly potent from the primary source and massive amounts of it. The oohs, the ahs, the looks in the eyes, the touches, the raking of the nails, the biting, the kissing, all of those sensations, the words that are used, the sounds that are used, the body language, all of it combines to provide a massive amount of fuel. So, you have to have regard to the following. Where are you in the fuel matrix? That governs the potency. How is the fuel being conveyed? What is the media for it? What is its process? That governs the amount. And then, what is the time period over which it's being provided? Is it a one-off hit? Is it repeated intermittent hits, say text messages back and forth? Is it a sustained period of the provision of fuel where you are with the narcissist and you're talking to them for half an hour, having sex with them for half an hour, speaking on the telephone for half an hour? And those are the factors that govern your fuel provision. And from that, you can now work out, in conjunction with the bug fuel, how your interactions are fueling the narcissist. And you may be in for a surprise that what you thought you were giving a massive amount of fuel, you're actually not. And therefore, that may well enable you to understand why the narcissist is responding in the way that he or she is. And similarly, that you are actually providing way more fuel than you thought you were. And again, that governs the way that the narcissist is interacting with you. If you have any questions, of course, about this, that you wish to apply with regard to your own circumstances, do organise a consultation with me. Details can be found in the menu bar at narcsite.com. That's narcsite.com. Or you can email me for further information at narcissist1909@gmail.com. Thank you.